Oh, hello. Just doing some reading here. But today, we're going to discuss The Monkey Garden in Sandra Cisneros' book, The House on Mango Street. Oh, hi there again. Just looking at some charismata. You know how it is. So, in this scene of the vignette, you will see the monkey and his owner leaving their home for the last time. They will be moving out. Esperanza remembers the monkey as the protector of the monkey garden, and when the monkey was locked up in his cage, screaming hysterically for its freedom. I'm gonna go back. Come on, monkey. We're leaving this place. Let's go. Come on. We're moving. In this scene, the owners of the monkey leave their house. She uses certain diction, such as twangy yakety yak, which implies that these people are from the South. Also, the word screaming implies that there is some struggle for freedom by this monkey, who is trapped in a cage, and not an enclosure, but a metal cage. This shows how the monkey is imprisoned by its owners, stuck upon a porcelain table as some sort of conversation piece. Esperanza mentions how the owners of the monkey spoke like guitars. This simile explains how the owners of the monkey talked with a southern accent, showing that they are originally not from this place. Also, the visual imagery of the monkey showing its teeth can be interpreted as a sign of dominance, because primates bear their teeth as a sign of dominance amongst others, so when the monkey saw the children, it might have thought of them as a threat and therefore showed aggression towards them. The cage that the monkey is trapped in symbolizes the entrapment of women, who are thought as lesser by men, just as the monkey is by humans. Oh, hello again. In this scene, you will see how the monkey garden was once well kept by its owner. However, once the owner and his monkey moved out, the surrounding area started to retake what was theirs, and the flowers started to go away, and the beauty was no longer as prominent as it was before. In this scene, the beauty of the garden is expressed. Diction such as deep red or fringe of theater curtains is used to describe the beauty of the flowers that grow in this garden. Deep red implies that these flowers are very vibrant and lively, because they bear beautiful colors. Also, the fringe of theater curtains describes the texture of these flowers. More diction explains how the different organisms look and how they are relaxed and not frantic, such as dizzy bees or sleepy smell of rotting wood, showing that this is a place where the children can escape and relax. Imagery is shown throughout this scene, such as olfactory imagery of the different aspects of the garden, such as the rotting wood, which is described as a sleepy smell, which implies a laid-back state of the monkey garden, showing that this is a place where the children do not have to worry about anything. A piece of personification is shown when she says how flowers stopped obeying the little bricks. Although the flowers do not literally stop obeying the bricks, But this is showing how after a while of being neglected, the garden is starting to grow freely. The flowers symbolize the children, and the bricks symbolize parents and expectations, showing how in the garden, the kids can break these expectations and can escape their parents. Here, the children do not have to be mature, they can act how they want to act. This garden, as a whole, symbolizes the Garden of Eden, because was a place of innocence. However, Sally, or could be interpreted as Eve, has given in to sexual desire, or the snake, or the devil, destroying the once innocent sanctuary. You know I like my chicken fried, cold beer on a Friday night. This is good stuff. I'm just gonna write that down. Oh, didn't see you there, but just writing my 5th sonata. Don't worry about it. So, in the scene, you will see Esperanza and Sally walk into the monkey garden as they see Tito and his friends play.
It's hard.
In the scene, Tito and his friends are playing, and Esperanza joins in. But Sally sits on the side of the garden. She opens with a couple questions that she asks herself when playing with the boys about how some people said she was too old to be playing and how she didn't listen to those people. This further solidifies how the garden is a place that the children do not have to grow up in and is a place for them to escape. There is visual imagery in this scene. For instance, Esperanza discusses how she wants to run fast like the boys. She also says how Sally complains whenever her stockings get muddy. The garden symbolizes how it is actually a sanctuary for the child imagination to flourish. Oh, Frodo, you. Imported, from Cuba. Now, in this scene, you will see Esperanza as she plays with Tito and his friends, while Sally sits at the edge of the monkey garden, not intervening in their game.
Sally, let's go play.
No, my stockings will get muddy. Hi, Tito. Give me your keys. Give me my keys back.
Haha.
Give me my keys back.
You can only give them back if you give each one of us a kiss.
In the scene, Esperanza asks Sally to play with the boys, but Sally refuses. She replies by saying, "Play with the kids if you want," as she continued talking to Tito. This shows how Sally was more sexually mature than Esperanza, but it did not really affect Esperanza at first. Esperanza thinks she is being stuck up, but in reality, she is being more mature by talking to Tito. Esperanza used words like, "come on," to show how she is really wanted to play with the boys. Yet Sally used words like, "I'm staying," to talk with Tito and to show how she was more sexually mature. Sally choosing to talk to Tito and his friends rather than playing with the rest of the kids like Esperanza. This symbolizes sexuality and maturity. Esperanza does not want to sit and talk with the boys, so it symbolizes her innocence. Oh, hi there again. Just finishing up that sonata I was talking about earlier. But in this scene, you will see Esperanza as she urges Sally to come play with Tito and his friends. However, Tito takes Sally's keys from her and will not give them back to her unless she gives Tito and each of his friends
Thanks. Give her her keys back.
So what?
Your son and his friends stole Sally's keys, and they won't give them back unless she kisses them.
Those kids? That's all? What do you want me to do? Call the cops? In the scene, we hear Esperanza trying to convince Sally to come with her to play with the other kids, and Sally is ignoring her. We visually see her staying by the curb, talking to Tito and his friends. This demonstrates how Sally would rather hang out with Tito and his friends because she likes the attention they are giving her, and thinks they are more mature. We also see Esperanza leaving, showing how she does not want to be a part of their conversation or that group of friends. Next we see Esperanza coming back to here and see Sally getting jokingly teased by the boys, and Esperanza does not understand what the joke is. This is important as we see Esperanza is not as mature as the others, and she still has her innocence. After we hear and see this, we see Esperanza visualize in her mind hanging out with the other innocent kids, jumping on cars and running through the garden. Lastly, we hear the boys threatening to take Sally's keys unless she kisses each of them, and agreeing to these terms. We see Sally acting like she is upset, but she actually does not mind. This juxtaposes most little girls, who aren't yet sexually attracted to boys yet. When Esperanza says, still jumping on cars and still chasing each other through the garden, she is trying to symbolize their innocence. The kiss Sally agrees to give to the boys is a symbol of sexuality and maturity. Sally screaming about her stockings getting dirty demonstrates how she is becoming more mature and caring about her appearance, and her innocence being lost. Esperanza calling her stuck up also alludes to the theme of her increasing maturity. Esperanza saying, "It was a joke, I didn't get it," shows the theme of innocence. Esperanza's word choice of using "pretend to be mad" when describing Sally's attitude towards kissing the boys shows how Sally's innocence is being lost and contributing to the theme of maturity and sexuality, as she does not mind kissing the boys. In this scene, the word keys symbolizes an innocence of Tito taking Sally's keys and teasing her, attempting to fulfill his sexual desire. The word ironing is symbolic of the gender roles that are present in the vignette, as Tito's mother is expected to do the housework due to her gender roles in society, compared to going out and working. Examples of figurative language in Scene 6 are visual imagery, behind the old blue pickup truck, and describes what Esperanza is seeing when she sees Sally hiding behind the pickup truck with the boys. The fact that they are behind the pickup truck shows that this is not an innocent act, because they feel the need to hide away from everything. Another example of visual imagery is she, Tito's mother, was sprinkling water on them from an empty pop bottle and smoking a cigarette. This line is visual imagery of Tito's mother's usual activities, assuming she's a poor, stay-at-home mother. The 3 flights of stairs is symbolic of the length that Esperanza is willing to go in order to not feel like an outsider and to keep the monkey garden the way it was before by trying to protect the innocence of everyone within it. Hello. In this scene, you will see Esperanza confront the boys and Sally with sticks and a brick in order to save Sally from this exploitation. However, Sally and the boys tell her to leave them alone.
Leave Sally alone.
Go home. Leave us alone.
In the scene, Esperanza visually describes what is happening. She says how she looked at her, Tito's mother, for a long time. She describes this to demonstrate how disgusted she was with her carelessness. She also visually describes how she quickly went down the stairs back to the garden so she could explain the panic she was in to save Sally. She then visually describes how she grabbed 3 big sticks and a brick in order to save Sally. After that, she goes into detail about the auditory imagery, saying how Sally and Tito's friends said to leave us alone, to show the readers that Esperanza's actions were unwanted. One example of figurative language is when Esperanza says, "They made me feel as if I was the one that was crazy." This simile was used to compare Esperanza's feelings about herself to the real crazy kids, Tito, his friends, and Sally, again symbolizing the loss of innocence and the gain of sexual maturity. Hello again. In the scene, you will see Esperanza run away because she is sad and confused about what had happened with Sally and the boys. She professes how she wants to be dead, and she sits under a tree and cries.
Stupid brick. I wish my heart would stop pumping. I wish my blood would stop flowing. I wish I were dead.
In the scene, Esperanza describes how she wishes her heart would stop beating and how she wanted to be dead. She says this because she feels like she doesn't belong. She also used personification by saying how the trees wouldn't mind if she laid down and cried because the garden is the only place that she enjoys on Mango Street. Later on, she describes how her feet in the garden didn't seem to be hers anymore. This implies that she no longer feels comfortable in the garden because of the sexual desires of the boys and the girls. Instead, she is ashamed of herself and is an outsider to the garden. Esperanza uses a simile to further suggest how she wants to leave the neighborhood and how she doesn't belong. She compares her eyes melting like 2 black snails on the ground. She uses the rain to symbolize her sadness and depression from the children's behavior in the garden and how sexuality is now made her feel like an outsider. The figurative meaning of the vignette is that the monkey garden is the Garden of Eden and is a perfect place of innocence as the children are unaware of sexual desire and things that come with adulthood. Sally is Eve, and she is the first one to, quote-unquote, bite the apple of sexuality, and then convinces the boys, or Adam, to also take a bite of this sexuality apple. When the children become aware of their sexual desire, the garden is corrupted and Esperanza is left alone, yet again, as an outsider. The literal meaning of this vignette is that it is a bunch of kids playing in an abandoned garden. Then they gain a sense of sexual maturity when the boys force Sally to kiss them in order to get her keys back, which deeply bothers Esperanza. The vignette speaks to the development of Esperanza's identity in the way that begins with innocence and unawareness of gender roles as Esperanza plays with the boys and leaves Sally behind because Sally is more aware of gender expectations in the society she lives in. As time goes on, awareness of societal expectations begins to increase and the boys no longer want to play with Esperanza. Instead, they would rather try to lose innocence with Sally and use her for pleasure. This shows how women are seen with little value and merely as a relief to the sexual desires of men. Similar to Earl from Tennessee, who had a new prostitute every day and has seen women merely as a sexual object. Esperanza's world becomes comparable to the Garden of Eden as a place of unawareness and innocence, and as a place to escape adults. When Sally stays out of the garden, it is innocent, and when she comes in, everything changes. She is Eve, and she is the first to eat the sexual desire apple. Once she eats this apple, she passes it along to the other boys, who also lose their innocence and gain sexual maturity. This is situational irony, because they originally were in the garden to escape adults, but they are now gaining aspects of adults.